This is my speech about the benefits of sacrifice for relationships and the history behind it. There are many different types of sacrifice, whether it be animal, your time, and even your money. But what purpose do they serve? What do you gain from investing so much of your time, money, and animals into something that does something? What does it mean to sacrifice, and how do you go about doing it? I'm here to tell you just that. We'll define it, and I'll tell you what it means to me and how I've interpreted others' definitions of the same word. Dictionary.com defines sacrifice as the surrender or destruction of something prized or desirable for the sake of something considered as having a higher or more pressing claim. But where did that come from? Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt that you were doing all the work and the other person is just there? Don't you ever want to tell them that slavery is over and they have to pick up their own slack? You sacrifice so much for them and get so little back in return. Research conducted by relationship scholars has shown that sacrifice is integral to couples' abilities to maintain happy and long-lasting relationships. Several studies of dating and married couples have shown that willingness to sacrifice is associated with greater relationship satisfaction and stability. Gordon. Most people would assume that to be obvious. The more you do for someone, the more they believe that you love them. Like reciprocity. How do you say that word? Oh, sorry. Though you want the other person to do more, you can't force them to do anything that they don't want to do on their own, because that isn't necessarily a sacrifice, seeing as they didn't give it up on their own. They were forced and everything. Not all sacrifice benefit relationships, however. Recent research has begun to show that people's underlying motivations for making sacrifice influence the quality and stability of relationships. Also, Gordon. The work is based on an approach avoidance motivational perspective that distinguishes between goals focused on approaching positive experiences and goals focused on avoiding negative experiences. Some people might believe that there's the motive behind some people's actions, so they don't believe that the reason they're doing things like sacrificing time to hang out with someone, that they're like, well, you did something wrong because you're trying to hurt me, or because you hurt me before and you're trying to make up for it now. So they're trying to cover a mistake they made in the past instead of just being nice. People have to have the willingness to sacrifice, which, according to Clark and Mattingly, the willingness to sacrifice is the propensity to forego immediate self-interest to promote the well-being of a partner or relationship. Meaning that the person doing the sacrifice can't be forced. They have to feel that sacrifice is necessary to maintain their interests, which is what I was saying earlier. If you force someone to sacrifice, it isn't coming from their heart, so now you have wasted whatever it is that they sacrifice, and they won't also get much out of it. Like forcing a kid to give his blanket to Goodwill, and then you give him ice cream when he does. Some kids realize that the ice cream is better, while others cry about the blanket being gone. Everyone is on different levels, and different things can be a sacrifice to them. So, yeah. And sacrifice isn't a new thing. It's been around before Jesus, for it was a way to pardon the sins of man unto God. Other cultures later adopted the custom to praise their gods, but most people only see the sacrifice as animals. They skip the part about time. They don't realize that people worked at their relationship with God to get it where it was. That they took time out from what they were doing to do the work of God. Like Noah in the Bible, for example. He spent all that time building the ark and getting it ready to please God. Just like a woman would take the time out from watching her show to clean the house or cook dinner to please her man. I'm not being like sexist or anything. There's the only example that came to mind. Every sacrifice doesn't bring the same reward. Just like every math equation doesn't get the same answer. Especially if you change the numbers, just like the different people in the situation. Yeah, I hope you understand that. The purpose of the sacrifice is to break the bond of what you consider important and form a bond with something that you believe has a greater value of that thing that you consider important. Altruistic self-sacrifice is rare, supererogatory, and not to be expected of any rational agent. But the possibility of giving up one's life for the common good has played an important role in moral theorizing by Hauser and Huebner. Laying down your life to save the lives of others, like Jesus, who died on the cross to save the world, is very rare, basically. And a lot of people don't do it because they think it's not worth it all the time. That their lives are more important than the few lives they might save, the people they don't know. It takes a lot to take on that much responsibility. Decide that these other lives are more important than your very own life. And it takes a lot of courage, because that's, yeah. Every person is different, and sacrifices can be different, and used as in a team setting, at church, or in the workplace. The best way to understand sacrifice is to put into practice what you have learned. I remember a quote I saw on Pinterest one day that said, "If you really want to do something, then you will make it happen. But if you don't, then you will make excuses." Sacrifice is a lot more than people realize, and the benefits are grand. It isn't always going to be hard, and it definitely isn't always going to be easy. But the more practice that you get doing it, the more it can become a part of you. Thank you. That's the end of my speech.